Welcome to the Farm Finance Show. On today's episode, I'll be talking about the diesel and gasoline price seasonality. Today, let's talk about fuel price seasonality. Both gasoline and diesel fuel exhibit some degree of seasonality. And what I mean by seasonality is the tendency for the fuel price to be either higher or lower than the yearly average in certain months. So what I do to calculate this is I look at the last 5 or 6 years of monthly fuel prices. I calculate the average for the year, and then I compare each individual month to the yearly average. And each of these points you see right here and here, the black dots, that represents a specific year, that particular price relative to the average price. So the average price for the year would be basically zero. So whether it's $3 a gallon or $4 a gallon, the average yearly price would be right here, and then these points really are the deviation from that yearly average. Well, when you average those across the 5 or 6 years I have in this, you end up with this red dot or red diamond right here, and that tells you what the seasonality is. So if overall, in any given year, the seasonality could easily vary in a particular month. As you can see here in January, in one year it was about probably about 40 cents above average for the year, and in a couple of years, it was about over 60 cents below the yearly average. But when you average those together, here's the point we get to, and you see there's kind of a trend. It shows up a lot more on the gasoline side than it does on the diesel side, but for gas, you can see fairly consistently that in January and February, the price for the yearly price for those particular 2 months is below the yearly average here. So this is a good time to buy gasoline because it's cheaper. And the reason for that is, we don't drive as much in the U.S. during the winter months, so the price tends to be lower. Now, as soon as you move to Memorial Day, right about here in May, now you start to see that the seasonality is above what the yearly average would be. So we typically pay more than the yearly average during the summer driving season. That's pretty consistent from May, June, July, and August up through Labor Day, and then it starts to get more to the yearly average. Then we move back in the wintertime, it tends to go down. This has been holding true even when we had the COVID year factored into this, which tended to screw things up that year because it wasn't a normal pattern at all. But even with that factored in, you can see this clear pattern where gasoline prices typically are below average in the wintertime, and they're above average in the summertime in the driving season. So again, if you have the capability to store gas and use gas, you'd want to buy your gas in the wintertime and use less of it, or at least pay for less of it during the summertime when everyone's out taking vacation. So very clear trends there. Now on the diesel side over here, the seasonality is not quite so obvious like it is for gas. You can see there's a lot more variability, and the trends aren't near as outstanding as they are for the gasoline side. So, but again, you still typically see a little lower diesel fuel prices in the winter. Again, COVID, I think, is making this not as clear as what it could be. But in past years when I've done this, we tend to see a higher set of prices here during the spring, and then a mini set of higher prices here in the fall. It doesn't quite stick out as much as what it did on the gasoline side. But again, there are some trends here to look at. Again, if we can buy diesel fuel during the winter months, especially January, February, it tends to be a little higher during spring planting and in the fall for fall harvest. So again, if you're a farmer who's buying diesel fuels on a kind of an as-needed basis, if you don't have any way to store diesel fuel, you're probably going to be paying a little bit higher fuel costs because you're having to buy it during the spring planting and fall harvest, where diesel tends to be a little bit low or higher price. If you have the capabilities to store diesel fuel, probably to buy your spring diesel fuel during the winter, January, February months, and the same thing for the fall, buy it during the summer months when it tends to be a little bit lower. So again, that's some ways you potentially can save money on the diesel fuel side of things. Well, again, I'll be doing more of these videos about fuel prices and such, and I'll put these up on my YouTube site, which is YouTube, and then my handle for that is at @littlepond_farm. That's the way to find these videos. You can also reach me on Twitter at either at @agivendall or at @agfinancing, and I'll try to post some things there. But again, be sure to follow me on YouTube and subscribe and for more of these types of videos. Thanks for watching.